Hi students, coming to the next topic of in the subject database management system is data independence. This is one of the important topic while you're creating a tables or while you're maintaining the database. You need to know about what is this data independence. Actually, the data independence is nothing but it is a capacity of changing the schema at one level without affecting the other level. This you call it as a data independence. Means if you change any level data, it doesn't affect to the another level. That is data independent. Independent means it is not dependent on another thing. So data independent means if you change at one level, the changes in one level cannot affect in the other level. So why we require this data independence? Actually, if database system is not a multi-layered, it becomes difficult to make any changes in database system. So for that we will go for the layered architecture. So that is a multi-layered architecture. So always the database system or design in multi-layer. So before going to know about the data independence, let us know about what is this multi-layer, why we are following this multi-layer, and what is the relation between this multi-layer and the data independence. So all the database systems are designed in multi-layer only, because if a database system is not multi-layered, it becomes difficult to make any changes in database system. Actually, database systems normally contains a lot of data in addition to users data. So already the users data will store in the database. Along with the user data, some more data, other data is also stored in the database. So means that is it stores data about data. Data about data known as metadata to locate and retrieve data easily. So always the database system stores data about data we call as known as metadata. Why we use metadata? For to locate the data and to retrieve data easily, we will go for the metadata. So to store that type of metadata, we need multi-layer. If entire data is dependent, suppose we thought that the metadata is not forming a multi-layer, means the entire data, that is data about data, is dependent, it would become highly complex job for retrieving the data and to locate the data and to modify the data. So for that case, the metadata itself follows a layered architecture, so that we change data at one layer, it does not affect the data at another layer. This data is independent. So that is called data independence. Means actually the database system follows a layered architecture, multi-layer architecture. Why we are following a multi-layer architecture? Because the database system stores always data about data. That is, it stores the metadata. If this metadata is not a layered architecture, it is difficult to retrieve data and to locate data, and if any changes in data, one data, it affects the other data also. Means the complete database system will be destroyed. So to overcome that problem, always this metadata follows a layered architecture. Metadata follows a layered architecture. So whenever it is following the layer architecture, so that the changes at one layer cannot affect to the other layer. If any changes in one layer cannot affect to the other layer. So obviously the data that is present in each layer is independent to each other. That you call it as a data independence. So this type of data is independent, but one thing you have to be noted that they map to each other. A mapping is there. A mapping is there, but the data is independent to other layers. So this is about the introduction of this data independence. So I hope you understand why we are going for the data independence. So if we doesn't follow the data independence, whenever we are using the metadata in database system, so that is the data about data, if any changes in one data will affect the complete database. So to overcome that problem, we are following the layered architecture. So always the data independence is forming the layered architecture. Data independence means capacity of changing the schema at one level without affecting the other level. That you call it as a data independence. So the data independence is of two types. There are two types of data independence. So the data independence can be done in a logical data independence and physical data independence. So data independence is of two types, logical data independence and physical data independence. Okay, means here the logical schema is there. Schema is nothing but it is a description of a database. So logical database description will be stored here in the logical schema, and here you have in the physical schema. So schema is the description of database. It is specified during the database design. So the schema will be specified during the database design, and it not expected to change frequently. Okay, so that point you have to be noted. So schema is nothing but the description of the database. So logical schema will always follows the logical data independence, and the physical schema will follow the physical data independence. Now let us see what is this logical data independence and physical data independence. Okay, let us see that. So first I'll explain the points. After that I'll give the explanation. I'll write the points. Logical data independence. So what is this logical data independence? The logical data independence, it stores information about how data is managed inside. Let me write. It stores information about how data is managed inside. So it only gives, it stores the information, not the complete, only the logical information it stores and managed inside. So the ability to change the logical schema without changing the external schema, or it has the ability, this logical data independence is having the ability to change logical schema. Means the complete the logical schema means it's a description of the database. So it has the ability to change the logical schema without affecting on or without changing the external or application program. So I'll tell what is this external and application program. So when I'm explaining in the form of diagram, so let me write first. So logical data independence means it is only the point you have to be remembered that it has the ability to change only the logical schema without changing the external or application level. Always the lower level will change without affecting to the upper level. So this external or application program are present above the logical level, means the upper level of the logical schema. Okay, so the ability to change logical schema without changing the external or application program. So if you do some changes on table, it should not change the data reside on the disk. So that is the logical data. Means any changes that you done on the table, it should not change the data residing on the disk. Now coming to the physical data independence. So what is this physical data independence? So physical data independent means it has the ability or it has the power to change the physical data without impacting or without changing the logical data. So above the physical data, you are having the logical data. Means physical schema, above the physical schema, you are having the logical schema and the external schema. So this physical data independence is having the ability to change the physical data without impacting the logical data or the external schema, logical schema or external schema. That is about the physical data independent. So here the example for this is, suppose this physical data is also called as a internal schema. Physical schema is also called as internal schema. One point you have to remember, logical schema is also called as conceptual schema, and another name for physical schema is the internal schema. Okay, so suppose if the change in internal schema, such as using different file organizations. Suppose if you want to change some different file organizations, or if you want to change the storage devices, internal storage devices, or if you want to change the structure of the storage devices, or if you want to change the indexing of the strategy, should be possible. These are all things are possible, should be possible. So without having to change the conceptual schema, should be possible without affecting or changing the conceptual or external schema. So conceptual means the logical schema or external schema. So this point you have to be remembered. So physical data means the data, it's completely it is having the storage capability. So here if you change any internal schema, that is a physical data like file organization, storage devices, structures, index of the tables, if you change anything on the internal data, it should not be affect the upper levels, that is the conceptual schemas and the external schemas. So that you call it as a physical data independence. So this is forming the layered architecture, layered. So if you change in one layer, does not affect in the change in another layer, that you call it as a data independence. So the different layers are the physical data independence and the logical data independence. So if you change the data information in logical level, that does not affect the physical level, means so then we can manage the database efficiently. Now let us see with some example. So I said 3 terms. I said, what is this application program? So when I am discussing about the logical and the physical data independence, I came across these terms, the application program and conceptual and external, internal, everything. So actually application program is this upper level. So it consisting of all the application program. These application programs will be accessed by the users. The user can access this application program. So we are the users, we will access only the application program. We don't know what is there inside, what is the logical and what is the physical, and we don't know everything, nothing. So we know only the application program. So we are accessing that application program. Okay, so means the application program is also, you don't know, we are just seeing the screen when you're doing that, but the programmer is mainly interacting with the logical and the physical schema only with the help of the application program. So application programs are nothing but the C, C++, Java, those are the application programs. So these application program will first interact with the logical schema. So logical schema is nothing but here it is just a diagrammatic representation. Everything is logical. It doesn't stores the information. It's only it changes the relationships. And logical schema, you are having the physical schema. So these are the three layers. Three layers: application, logical, scheme, physical. So here application will stores the programs, application programs, whereas a logical schema tell about the relationships. It discuss about the relationships of the all the tables that are present inside. So, and the physical schema is completely depends do the operation of storage. Okay, so if any relationship is changed in the logical schema, it does not affect in the application program, means the upper level. So if any changes that you done in the storage, means if you change the disk, if you change the indexing, everything, so that does not affect the logical schema as well as the application program. Okay, so that is the this is a layered architecture. So let me explain with another diagram. So you have seen that external schema 1, external schema 2. This is a diagram I think you have seen in the textbooks. Schema 2 and external schema 3. And next the logical schema, or you call it as a conceptual. You can write as a logical schema or the conceptual schemas. Next the internal schema, or you can write the physical schema. Internal schema or physical scheme. Next the complete database. So if the user want to access this database, he has to cross all these levels. Okay, so if any changes in one level, it does not affect the database. Only the change that is done in the internal schema, that is the physical storage, physical data independent, that only affects the database. Okay, so this maintains the security and it can you can retrieve the data efficiently. So these external schemas will interact with the logical schema and logical internal and internal schema with database. So these external schemas are nothing but, you call it as a end users. End users or the programmers or the users. We are the users. So we will call the external schemas. So means application programs. Different application programs will be there, the external schemas. The end users will interact with these external schemas. So that will come to the logical schema. So here here it follows the logical data independence. The logical schema will always maintain the logical data independence, and the internal schema always maintains the physical data independence. Okay, so this is a layered architecture. So if any changes in one layer does not affect the other layer, that is the data independence. The data independence is of two types: logical data independence and the physical data independence. So the logical data independence is nothing but if any changes that occur in the logical data, it does not affect the upper level, that is the external schema. At the same time, if any the physical data independence means if any changes that are done in the physical data does not affect the logical schema as well as the external schema. Okay, means it does not affect these two upper layers. And the logical schema is only tell about the relationships, and it only do the updations on the relationships of the tables, whereas the internal schema is completely maintain the database. Means it can done the changes on the storage. This is about the data independence. Thank you.